poetry in our household. No, poetry, no, that's not true. What are you doing? Just write it down again. I'm so sorry. So right now there is an ongoing investigation probing into the possible case of liking a picture that's been very racy and lurid, because the semi-nude photo of a racy model on Instagram is allegedly liked by Pope Francis. That's really what has been reported. So Vatican authorities are right now conducting their own internal investigation to see whether this is genuine or not. Think about it. Pope Francis, while actually, scrolling down the screen, somehow bump into a certain photo of a bare naked or semi-nude and come hither luring picture of a young girl, and clicked it, liked it. And this is troublesome. The fact that he actually liked it, that means he was exposed to this type of vulgar material. That's what has been actually said at this moment. I don't know. Not me to make judgment here. It's a very funny, by the way. I did a really exact same thing. I was not light. No, that's not true. Let's try not to do this. This is really the report that I've never heard of before. Donald Trump, with his family, is expected to spend this Thanksgiving at the White House instead of, the Florida this is really a breakaway from his tradition. Throughout his presidency, President Donald Trump never skipped one single Thanksgiving holiday by spending most of the time during the holiday at his house in Florida. This time, he is really to spend the entire holiday at the White House, okay? Let me actually paraphrase it again. I can definitely understand it immediately. President Donald Trump to spend this Thanksgiving holiday at the White House instead of spending yet another holiday at his residence like Mar-a-Lago in Florida. This is one great breakaway. Break from means this is a detour from his conventional way of conduct. Throughout his tenure, throughout his presidency, there was no single holiday of Thanksgiving during which he spent most of time with his families in Florida, when he never actually had a time to stay in his residence in Florida, right? This time he decides to stay at home in Washington, which is the White House. If you ever want me to write down the sentence in the full version, this is my sentence. Like this. It is a major detour. This is so unlike, what he has done so far. Okay, 어렵진 않은데 상대 접근이다 이게. 잠깐만, 내가 지금 문제가 하나 있는데 모르겠어. Big tech CEOs face another grilling at the Senate over censorship concerns. Right now, the tech giants, the actual heads of the tech giants together, they're actually being interviewed and interrogated at the Senate because there are growing concerns over censorship, whether they can exercise editing power to take out unwanted content. Like, for instance, Hunter Biden issue, Facebook and Twitter, they actually operate their own auto editing power. Yeah, that's really within the grasp of their redaction, right? I don't mind. This is really easy to read. Download the New York Post application now, more than just news, and stay connected with what's happening. Just actually try to keep yourself in a completely connected to what is going on. That's what has been said. Uniland magazines like Uniland and Cinemark agree on the early release of the home movies. What does that mean? You know what? Those are blockbusters that are newly released right now in and outside the office, right? Because they've been actually hitting the box office. That's what we actually called it. That those movies are newly released at the theater. So then you would actually take quite a while before, the viewers at home would be able to watch it on TV, right? Think about it. There was a hot movie called Invisible Man per se. It used to be, huh? But the thing is, you need to actually wait a couple of months after it got released. Right? That means, the viewers could actually hit the theater to watch that. But you need to at least, sleep off in a couple of months before you would be able to play this movie on demand at home. Right? But due to the coronavirus, many viewers cannot even actually think of going to movie theaters as usual. That's really the reason too MAGA changed in the movie industry by hosting a majority of movie theaters throughout the nation agree upon the earlier release of movies that are really hot and recent. The newly released hot and the latest movies that are just actually hitting the box office. These are blockbusters or even tiny small indie movies can be viewable and can be watched by, consumers at home. You understand what I mean? I've never even heard of this. I don't really know why I understand it, but I can understand that. What does that mean? Especially, American movie chains, they're really stingy about letting the latest movies go. That means that those chick flicks you might really want to see immediately, if they're really popular and demanded, literally topping the charts, then you really need to have a patience before you would ever obtain watchable version or format at home, right? You even actually check out the Netflix. They're never going to be released. They were never going to be available unless they would be released simultaneously through different venues, right? Because in that way, movie theaters can actually earn a chunk of money because they would have liked to take this hostage. They were never going to be released through different venues. So, those viewers who might really want to see this on demand, they wouldn't be disappointed. Whoa, you know what? I would never get to see this because, not really Blockbuster, what did we say that? The AMC is never going to release it much earlier to be viewable, even on TV. They're never going to let us have it unless we actually go to the local cinema theaters. Unless we actually hit the theater, unless we drop by the theaters, unless we actually bring down the house, they're never going to let us watch it. That's what it is about. But because of the COVID-19, moviegoers cannot actually, literally flock to the theaters as usual. That's really the reason why they decide to, two different mega chains and the industry leaders decide to release some of, hot-trodden movies earlier than usual. This type of early release, would it be acceptable? Some of them are watchable earlier. Some of them are obtainable much earlier than schedule. They would have never actually let it go behind schedule. In that way, these movies can be very accessible, even from home, at home, and whatever type of usual venues you might experience. You don't really need to be a moviegoers. You don't really need to purchase tickets. You just really don't need to have a movie pass. Because, with your remote, or at your fingertips, you can watch them. There are different venues, and options, and ways, and avenues, and whatever. Top negotiator leaves Goldman Sachs to join the Michael Dell's investment firm. A top deal maker is a negotiator. There is always a negotiator who's been actually a specialized lawyer and deal maker who definitely can sway the actual contract's completion or not, right? The commission of the contract can be in sway of these people's blow. Because top deal maker is somebody who enables the validity of the deal underway, right? So normally we call it negotiator. A negotiator makes someone to depart from Goldman Sachs for Michael Dell's investment firm. Michael Dell must be a very promising and auspicious person in the industry. 그렇게 돼 있지. The Fed's probe indicates that Tesla's chemical failures could lead to recall of their vehicles. I mean, it's really easy to understand that. The United States and federal authorities look deeper and conduct their own investigation into Tesla's camera failures. There are indicated failures reported by many of the consumers or the test organizations. But this type of camera malfunctions could indeed actually invoke more of a recall. When consumers come out to say that, oh, I'd like to actually get a new product, but this could actually be a systematic recall demanded by the authority saying that, hey, you should actually bring back all the distributed vehicles on behalf of consumer security. Otherwise, this could definitely bring about real accidents. Before things get really ugly, you should actually bring back all of the allocated or distributed circulated vehicles. You should take them back. You should actually turn them in return of a new and less dysfunctional products. No, I didn't actually miss it. The FASA probe indicates that Tesla's camera failures could lead to a recall of their vehicles, exactly the same meaning. But normally, American people say the feds. That's really the entire authorities. I know it. The unlikely industry that the COVID-19 is also affecting. You probably think that this would be so protected from the COVID-19's influence. You know what? You think that this industry would be shielded from the negative and nefarious influence of COVID-19? No, you'd better think again. This is totally improbable and unlikely, but this is, definitely the place which is right now being influenced by the COVID-19 right now. You would be really surprised to hear that, but I never opened it up. I have no idea. You think this is not a video? Scalpels means those are illegal buyers, who are not supposed to sell them, tell the truth. They're not illegal buyers, but illegal sellers. Think about it. You, in the first place, have a zero interest in purchasing any game console like Xbox and PlayStation, but you just really want to make money out of it, because you know that there is a pinch in the market due to the coronavirus. There is enough manufacturing of the Xbox and the PlayStation. There are really hotly sought after gaming consoles and game machines, right? You know it. So you just really think that, you're really unemployed. You just want to make money, like me, thinking, you know what? Let me actually spend my whole day to obtain an Xbox. Let me actually be part of this queue to obtain the newly released and literally hotly baked Xbox. Let's try to get it. And let me actually sell it off by claiming greater amount than I actually ever paid. For instance, if I ever actually put down $500 for a new gadget, then let me actually try to sell this at a price level over $1,000. Because anyhow, those people who are completely furnished with monetary resources, they can never get it because there is a limitation on supplying goods, right? This is really about the condition between supply and demand. There are no enough gadgets that could ever be sold, even there is a mounting demand. Yeah, because you remember I covered this before. Due to the coronavirus, it's really difficult to properly. I can say that Microsoft and what's that? PlayStation, the Sony, Nintendo. They cannot actually mobilize as many resources as they like to do to create, the latest, the top-notch Xbox and the PlayStation gadgets and the consoles they like to see for this new season, because they're just actually being released on market, and they're really new. They're brand new. There is no previous model like this. People, I mean, if you ever actually, look deeper into these people so obsessed with the game, if you actually, dig deeper into the life of the gamers, they've been actually counting their days off, and they've already marked their days with the red ink, saying that, oh my god, please come out. They've been actually begging. So, even, somebody who has enough money in the pocket, but who has no time to purchase the new model, the most recent model, the top-notch, the cutting-edge, the state-of-the-art game machine, and they should actually literally knock onto the door of a black market. Oh, I probably need to actually, come into contact with somebody who might be illegal to carry these materials, but let me actually, find another venue. Let me actually, think of a ingenious way to obtain that, because I cannot suppress my desire to get it. I have money, and I'm going to do whatever it takes. You know what? Find a way. I'm not going to be stopped at anything, because I'm dying to get my new Xbox, I'm not just actually being itched. I'm not actually itching to get it. I would actually do anything. I'm hell-bent on obtaining the latest model of Xbox. Those are those, fanatics out there. So these scalpers are normally prying into the dying, desperate hearts of these gamers. Oh, if that is the case, there is always a demand in the market. Let's try to hike up the money, ante up the stakes. That's interesting. Let me actually call 1,000. Would you actually like to buy it? Technically, that's really almost like a 50 percentile more of the original price per se. I don't really know the actual amount of money that one should actually pay out for Xbox. I don't know. It's like, scalpers, these are really like parasites. They've been penetrating into the demand of the market, saying that they definitely know the physiology of this capitalism, because, there is a demand, there will be supply, but then sometimes, there is a lack of equilibrium between supply and demand. Why? Maybe, different problems associated with the supply, especially in time of this pandemic crisis. There had been a limitation on circulation and the distribution of resources and the manpower required to manufacture the proper materials on time. That's really the reason why we experience a serious shortage of the completed products on market. That's really the reason, right? I actually read it from New York Times. I'm not really so sure whether they would be very much committed to the authenticity of the information. But scalpers, scalpers are people who might actually be sellers on the black market. Yeah. Because if any products are released on the market, but with no recognition from the original distributors, or no affiliation with the genuine manufacturers, then we call the scalpers, who just really wants to snatch away the chances by upping the prices than usual, just simply abusing the lack of supply. So scalpers are reselling Xbox and PlayStation devices, gadgets for much lofty prices. They definitely up the prices. That means that they actually, just like, being at auction, they claim these are black market sellers, aka black market seller. Of course I can't get it. What do you mean by that? Black market seller and you. These people should have never actually make any type of trade, because they were not licensed to do so. Only the franchised and the licensed people can go out and trade the materials, because they are given authority to do so. They're authorized. Hey, excuse me, we're authorized handlers of the X game box or whatever. But the thing is, if you ever purchase, these products from scalpers, there is no the insurance, no warranty that wouldn't be valid. Or you need to actually pay almost like, triple the prices in case of a malfunction, because you actually somehow risk yourself to rely on such an risky business handling. then the original distributors would not like to recognize the authenticity of your products, even though they're genuine Sony PlayStation. They just say, oh, we do not actually see the regularity or the validity of the products, even if they actually carry the full logo and the authenticity of the PS. Yes, it's from Nintendo, Sony Nintendo. We do not like to recognize it like this. No, I don't know. Smugglers. I know these people are a little bit similar to smugglers. Smugglers who actually traffic certain products illegal. You know what? These products are completely outlawed, like cocaine. But you know what? The Xbox and the PlayStation can be tradable freely, illegally, for sure. Because you would have never actually had handcuffed it because just simply selling PlayStation. However, if you ever actually wanted to rip other people off by taking them to the cleaners, by claiming greater amount of money than usual, with no authentication, then you're going to be punished because this is a legal activity. You've been actually gouging people off, right? This is a perfect definition of gouging people off, right? Claiming greater amount of money than the price tags put down by the original manufacturers and the makers, right? And that's a punishable sin. Not really punishable sin, punishable misdeed. Yeah, fracture of the law. Infracture of the law. Infraction. Infracture of the law. It's okay. This deal. The contract negotiation. Sure, I read it. High definition. 오, 맞잖아. Yeah, it's a really right. Selling authority, that's a holding. That's fine. Really fine. Fine. facilitate. Walmart is refurbishing and renovating its networked warehouses across the nation in order to facilitate the delivery of products online. So if you ever place an order online, you would actually, obtain delivered packages and parcel, right? But the problem is, what? Walmart is relatively slower than Amazon. Then this would be a trouble, right? So Walmart is right now, prioritizing its own priority. So one of the top agenda they've been the Walmart is doing right now, executing right now, the top agenda that this company is executing is refurbishing and renovating and renewing the existing warehouses for storage or the logistic distribution for local branches. But now these are actually renewed, being revamped to better accommodate the demands coming from the online shoppers. So, the Walmart already actually hosts a vast amount of warehouses, storage centers, reservoirs, depots. They're actually being distributed throughout the nations that are already there physically. But their purposes are actually being renewed and being revamped, right? Revamped is a really great word, I think. They're actually being revamped. They're being refashioned. The reason why, the rationale behind this massive scaling up and a renovation is just simply to better serve the online users and online shoppers who just, with their clicking, order a product or shop for items instead of turning to the brick and mortar shops across the nation. They just actually simply wanted to refashion the existing warehouses for the sake of online goods, and that way there would be no postponement or delivery delay. Any type of items or articles demanded from online users can be distributed or can be delivered on their doorstep much faster because there would be much, just like, spider's web type of well-organized and a coherent and networked connection by turning normal, regular warehouses for shops into online shopping mall beach house. Yeah. These are actually being turned into beach houses or strongholds for the online shopping experiences. That's what it is about. They're going to be sent out. I'm not lying. If you ever think that this retail giant, it's not really difficult to imagine that this retail giant has many different storage facilities throughout the nation, right? They had many different places just simply to stack up their products in order not to have them out of stock or being sold out, right? But these were originally on purpose built for distributing and circulating items for brick and mortar shops, offline brick and mortar shops. However, these are not their primary reason, because there is a newly shuffled up priority, redact priority. The online shops are being highlighted. Many of the warehouses are now renovated to simply meet the demands and requirements coming from them. And that way, many of the management or managerial priorities are being streamlined in pursuant of the online orders. So no more online shoppers or clicking consumers would experience a frustration because they experience a 2 or 3 days delay. No, because we have a network storage facilities that can easily overcome the barrier coming from the logistics. That can be easily solved. Because, if you're living in Kansas City, and we have, just within a couple of radius, have another storage house. So you could immediately deliver the parcel. That's available. We don't really need to rely on much further and a farther away distant storage house. Because we are repurposing the existing storehouses primarily for Walmart branches in person for the online users. We're actually turning them into the beach houses for online shopping users. So in that way, we can actually better cope with the mounting online orders. Think about it. If you ever actually if you're being a cyber shoppers, so you're actually desperately waiting for Cyber Monday instead of Black Friday, right? Is that Black Friday? Yeah. But Cyber Monday is the bigger one. So, Walmart can actually better handle the whopping amount of orders are coming from the internet. They don't really need to. So what's the big deal about, having several items out of stock in an in-person market store? Maybe, Walmart users can actually drive their cars tomorrow again back to the store to obtain that. We're not going to let our online users experience that inconvenience. Because we're going to actually, nullify the purpose of the existing warehouses by turning them into online dedicated storage facilities. That's the real deal. We just actually, many of our warehouses are now going through revamping renovation. That's a renovation and refashioning, reform, and what do we actually call that? That's a that's a makeover. It will be extreme makeover. Whose the focal point is on, whose the focus is on online shopping. Definitely, that's a real the trend. That's how the world works. So we just really don't want to. We just actually wanted to take the sting out of the brick and mortar shops or the concrete buildings. Not really concrete buildings, because Walmarts are really just there. Can I just actually go?